Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into a really powerful and, honestly, kind of mind-bending idea about artificial intelligence. It's a whole new way of looking at it, one that suggests our supermodern AI has way more in common with ancient alchemy than you could ever imagine.
And this quote, it just perfectly captures the strange moment we're in. We are literally building the most powerful technologies in all of human history, but their inner workings are becoming a total mystery, even to the people who are creating them.
That is such a good question, right? I mean, the whole point of science was to get rid of mystery, to explain things away. So, to really get a handle on where we're going with AI, we first have to take a look back at the journey of knowledge that brought us here in the first place.
Okay, so let's jump right in. We're going to start with this fundamental promise that science made to us for hundreds of years, and then we'll see how the rise of AI is now flipping that promise completely on its head.
For centuries, science basically made a deal with society, and the core idea was this thing called reductionism, the belief that you could understand anything, no matter how complex, just by breaking it down into its smallest parts. You understand the parts, you understand the whole. That was the method, and it came with a guarantee. We will give you an explanation.
Which brings us to this, the black box problem. With today's most powerful AIs, like large language models, we get these amazing, often mind-blowingly correct answers. But when you ask, okay, how did you get that answer? The trail just goes cold. It disappears into this tangled web of billions of connections. We get the result, but we don't get the reason.
Nullius in verba. That's the motto of the Royal Society, the bedrock of modern science. It's Latin for, don't take anyone's word for it. It means you have to see the proof. You verify it for yourself. But with AI, we can't. We're increasingly being forced to just take the oracle's word for it. So how in the world did we get from a culture that demanded an explanation for everything to one that's starting to accept answers from a black box? Well, the answer lies in this really crucial, centuries-long shift in how we even think about knowledge itself. If you go way back, there was no real separation between science and philosophy. It was all just natural philosophy, this unified search for truth and meaning, all wrapped together. But then, starting around the 1600s, we began to chip away at it, to break it apart. We got the scientific method. Then in the 1830s, we actually invented the word scientist, and that led us right into the hyper-specialized world we live in today. And this contrast here really tells the story. You had the natural philosopher, think of someone like Isaac Newton, who could calculate the laws of gravity one minute and then write about God's purpose the next. It was all part of the same thing. But the modern scientist, they're trained to build a wall between is and ought, to just describe how things work and leave the big questions about values and ethics to somebody else. Now, this was incredibly productive, no doubt, but it also created this great divorce between our technical ability and our moral responsibility.
And this is where we get to the heart of the argument. What if AI isn't the final achievement of that specialized science? What if, instead, it's the return of something much, much older, something stranger and way more mysterious? Before there was chemistry, there was alchemy. And we usually just dismiss it as silly pseudoscience, right? But that totally misses the point. Science, as you can see here, wants to eliminate mystery. It wants to shine a bright light on it until it's gone. Alchemy, on the other hand, sought to work with mystery. It embraced it. It was about transforming both the material world and the human spirit, all at the same time.
And this is the profound claim. The way we're interacting with AI, with its opaque inner workings and its incredible transformative power, it is way more in common with the worldview of an alchemist than it does with a modern reductionist scientist.
And this alchemist checklist just makes the connection so clear. First, you've got transmutation. Generative AI takes boring old data and transforms it into incredible new text and images. That's a new kind of lead into gold. Then there's artificial life. The alchemists dreamed of creating a homunculus, a little artificial person. Well, that sounds an awful lot like our quest for AGI. And finally, oracles. We ask our LLMs for hidden knowledge, just like ancient kings and generals consulted oracles. We're chasing the same ambitions. We're just using silicon instead of furnaces.
But, and this is a really big but, this return to an older, more mysterious way of creating things forces a critical question on us. It's a question that our specialized world has allowed us to pretty much ignore for a very long time. And this is absolutely key. The old natural philosophers, people like Newton, they believed they were uncovering the machinery of a universe that had a divine purpose. That shared belief, that was the glue holding their whole worldview together.
We fractured knowledge, and in the process, we lost that shared sense of cosmic purpose. So, if we're now returning to a more holistic, mysterious way of doing things, what's our glue? I mean, just look at these questions. What is human flourishing? What is sacred? For a long time, these were just abstract debates for a philosophy class. Not anymore. They've suddenly become urgent, practical, engineering problems. Every single time someone codes a value system into an AI, they are giving an answer to these questions, whether they realize it or not.
And this brings us to the final and maybe the most important part of this whole idea. This shift from science back towards a kind of alchemy, it forces us to be conscious and deliberate about the choices we are making about our own humanity.
We just have to face it. We're creating these unbelievably powerful, world-changing tools that we can't fully explain, and we're guided by ambitions that are almost mythical. Specialization isn't enough to navigate this. We are playing with a new kind of magic, and we're going to need a new kind of wisdom to handle it. Because this is what's really at stake. The ultimate danger of this new era isn't some robot apocalypse. It's that in our reliance on these powerful, mysterious oracles, we might forget how to think for ourselves. We might forget how to ask hard questions, how to argue, and ultimately, how to choose our own path. That's the real challenge this new age of alchemy leaves us with.